What's going on, guys? So I just got back from seeing Evil Dead Rise, one of my most anticipated horror movies of 2023, as well as just one of my most anticipated movies of the year, period. So without wasting any time, let's just get right into the review, shall we? Off the top, I'm just going to say this franchise has zero misses. Every movie in this franchise is good to great, in my opinion. What I think helps it a lot is how different it is across the board tonally, as well as a variety of other factors, which I'll get into. But the fact that each of these movies isn't just a cookie cutter copy of the original is really what helps it. Also, the fact that there's only 5 of these in the 40 plus years that these movies have been around. You know, I love Halloween and Friday the 13th, but those franchises have 10 plus movies in them. And you can sort of start to see a case of diminishing returns with those movies. There's fun to be had for sure, but their best movies are definitely behind them at that point. So something that I really think works for Evil Dead, and I hope that this continues to happen in the future, is just sometimes less is more, you know? Missing something, wanting more of something, makes you really appreciate the thing when you finally do get it. Now, I don't think we should go 10 years between Evil Dead movies again, but, you know, 3-4 years between movies, that would be good. You know, do not pump these things out. Let them breathe, you know, let them be what they are. You know, I think that's the recipe for a winning franchise. They all do a little something different tonally, like I said, and if they're not doing something different with the location, they're doing something different with the characters, with the themes, and yes, there are themes, it's not just blood and gore, mainly in the more modern films, but you could argue that there's some themes in the original movies as well. And they span multiple decades. You know, these things were not all just a product of the 80s. We're still getting modern Evil Dead films, finally. Now, I probably should have mentioned off the top, but I am going to give some mild spoilers for this movie, so I would recommend seeing it first before we go any further. You still there? Have you seen it yet? Go see it, man. Just go see it. All right, you're back? Okay, let's get into it. Now, when I first saw the trailers for this movie, I noticed that there were kids in it. And right away, that was sort of a bit of a red flag for me, because having coming off the high of 2013 and how violent that movie was, and that being one of my favorites of the franchise, I was a little concerned how violent the movie could get with kids in it. Let me just say off the top that that was not really a valid criticism. These kids are not safe. They are in danger, and shit is happening to them. So it is a family being attacked by these Deadites, and there is a bit of family in 2013 with the brother-sister dynamic, but it's mostly just a group of friends that it centers on. But this one is a full-blown family film, and I don't mean like take your kids to see this movie. I mean, it centers around familial connections and relationships. Because the fucked up thing about Evil Dead is it's your friends who are trying to kill you. You know, it's not like a Jason or a Michael or a Freddy who's coming to get you. It's your family. And that's part of what makes these movies, you know, hit pretty hard. Now, I will say the characters were all pretty good in this movie. You only get, you know, enough in the very beginning before, you know, shit gets going, just to kind of give you an idea of who they are. You know, there's a son, there's a daughter, there's another daughter who's very young, and there's a mom, and she's like a tattoo artist, and the main character, her sister, is like a guitar technician for musical acts. And so you get just a little bit about all of them to kind of give you an idea of, you know, who they are and what they're into. They're not like fully realized characters or anything, but for the context of an Evil Dead movie, I think they're given more than enough characterization. I also appreciate some of the subtlety with the characters in this movie. There's an absent father who's not really given any backstory or anything like that. He's just, you're told that he's not around, and that's it. You know, they don't really go into too much detail with that, which I appreciated. You know, sometimes less is more. Also, the mother of the 2 main characters, the possessed woman and our protagonist, is mentioned a handful of times, but they don't really go into any backstory with her either, which I thought, you know, in a lesser movie, they might go into that, you know, maybe with like some flashbacks to kind of juxtapose what's happening in the context of the movie and have it kind of, you know, mirror thematically. No, nothing like that. Doesn't really even matter. It's just something that's brought up. It's something that is established between these 2 sisters, as a thing that's of significance, but it's not really fleshed out any more than that, which I appreciated. You know, this movie is under 2 hours, which is amazing in this day and age because it seems like everything is 3 hours plus. So this movie doesn't have time to like mince words and go into backstory. Like, we got shit to do, you know? People are getting killed, people are getting possessed, it's Evil Dead, let's boogie. On the technical side of things, I will say the cinematography in this movie was very striking. It was really good. It's got all of the signature Evil Dead, you know, trademarks that you're going to be looking for. Those are all there. But it's also got a very fluid style to it. The camera moves in a very precise way. There's a lot of distinct shots and angles that are made to kind of make you feel uneasy. You know, like things are slightly off kilter, which I really like. The movie's very gory, but it's not as gory as 2013. It strikes a nice middle ground between the original movies and 2013, and it rests pretty comfortably there. There are squeamish moments, a lot of bodily fluids being thrown around. You know, all your good Evil Dead stuff, it's all here. I kind of wish it had gone a little further in some points. In the trailer, there's a cheese grater scene, and they just show you the beginning of it. They don't show you the end of it, obviously, because it's a trailer. The aftermath of the cheese grater scene wasn't really that bad. It was kind of just like, looked like she had a rash or something. So that's a small thing. Pretty minor thing, but I wish that they had gone a little further, you know, maybe peel her whole flesh off. Like, I was kind of shocked at what the aftermath was. I was like, oh, her legs, like, she looks like she just fell down. Doesn't look that bad. So that's just one thing. Not really a game breaker for me. I still enjoyed the movie overall. I don't need it to be extremely gory, but I think they could have went a little bit further in certain points just to make you say, wow, damn, they really did that. I respect that. Something that I hope they continue to do with Evil Dead in future movies is kind of treat these like anthologies, you know? Yeah, just have the book show up in random places throughout history with different characters and let chaos ensue. I think that's a perfect recipe, you know? It might sound formulaic on the surface, in the right hands of the right director and the right cinematographer and the right writer. You can get really creative with this franchise, you know? Having it set in a high-rise as opposed to a cabin in the woods is vastly different. But thematically and aesthetically, you can still capture the sense of isolation and not being able to escape from your situation. You can find ways to replicate that. You know, don't just make 5 movies set in a cabin. That would get boring after a while. There was some theories online speculating that, like, in future movies, Ash and Mia from 2013 could, like, team up against Deadites or something like that. And to me, that would feel just kind of cheesy. Like, I have no interest in seeing that. Everything doesn't need to be a cinematic universe. Like, things can just kind of live in their own space and be a self-contained thing with a beginning, a middle, and an end. So yeah, in conclusion, I loved this movie. I thought it was awesome. I thought the characters were great, the gore was great, it looked great. Can't really ask for too much, you know, out of an Evil Dead movie. And yet they still continue to go above and beyond and deliver, you know, really great movies. You know, people say Scream is the most consistent horror franchise. You know, I disagree. I think it's Evil Dead by a long shot. So yeah, horror just continues to keep winning. I think last I checked, it had made 40 plus million. Maybe it was only 20. Regardless, way above projected numbers. Please just go see this movie in theaters. Go support this. Horror winning is always a good thing. We are on a hot streak right now between movies like Smile, Terrifier 2, Skinamarink. The list goes on. And this is a movie that deserves to go be seen in theaters on the big screen. I would highly recommend that you do that and support horror. So yeah, I gave this movie a 4.5 out of 5 on Letterboxd. There's a chance it could come down to a 4. I don't really know if I see that happening. I tend to be pretty high on things when I first see them, and then as time goes by, they drop down slightly, or sometimes they can go up. I'm pretty comfortable with a 4.5 out of 5. I really didn't have many complaints at all with this movie. It's paced well. Once it starts, you just hit the road running and it doesn't stop. You know, this movie was kind of a slow burn in some ways. It's like, as soon as it begins, you know something's about to happen to this family. And like I said, you get enough about them to kind of know, you know, get to know them a little bit, and you care for them a little bit. It's a nice little family. Mom raising her family on her own. They're getting evicted soon, so that's not good. So you feel for them a little bit, but you know that there's this underlying danger running through, and the whole time you're kind of tense because you know something fucked up's going to happen, and you're just waiting for it to happen. And once it does happen, it doesn't disappoint. It kind of, hits the way that you expect it to, which is, it's not great. This family's not having a good time. So yeah, that's my review for Evil Dead Rise. Check it out in theaters, and if you're interested, hit the like button, subscribe if you're into, and leave a comment. Tell me what you think about the movie, leave your Evil Dead rankings. I'd love to see them. Take care, and watch more movies.